had like slept not with us there, had slept back at, I think at my truck actually. So he came back up the lake road, and it took us a while to get moving. Actually, I think it like over an hour. So we wasted a lot of time there, just sort of like trying to regroup, and me trying to mentally wrap my head around what else I had left to do. And but eventually I stood up and I started walking and started to feel better. And, so we walked up the lake road to the cutoff trail in there. And so that was kind of a nice, just kind of walking on flat surface was nice.
Even though the lake road, and my buddy Josh always says this, the lake road is the hardest material on planet Earth. Like, it's harder than concrete. It's harder than everything. The lake road is the hardest thing that our feet have ever touched on this planet. But yeah, I guess it could feel good at some points.
I guess it was just I didn't have to think, there wasn't anything there wasn't anything to pick my foot up and over, it's just
mindless,
which was good. So that felt all right. And then we started up, going up towards Elk Pass, to the Colvin split there. So, and I felt okay in there. It was a nice morning. It was sunny. It was going to be a beautiful day. I had kind of mentally had to turn around, from feeling terrible. And I knew Colvin wasn't too terrible of a climb. I, again, hadn't been up there in a long time, but was not really looking forward to Blake, but knew Colvin wasn't too bad. So getting up there was great. It was a beautiful view. And then we went out to Blake and back, and I, again, hadn't been there a long time, and that was a tough one.
Sure. 700 feet down, 700 feet up. Yeah. It's tough.
It was at those points, it became more just the visual aspect of like seeing it out there.
Yeah, sure. Right in front of you.
And
taunting
how far, you. Yeah. So we got those done, and my quad was no better. It still felt really terrible. And we got back to Colvin from Blake, and I tried to have Aaron tape it with some Coban, which is like a self-adhesive wrap, which everybody should also carry that with them too. It's super lightweight. You can use it to wrap an ankle or a quad. But so we wrapped some of that around my quad to see if that would help, to kind of like lessen the tension on the muscle, but it didn't help. I did wear it all the way up nipple top, but by the time we got to nipple top, I decided to just take it off because it was still painful and was pretty tight and kind of swelling around like my knee underneath it a little bit. So we left that, we took it off, but, so that was my slowest trip up nipple top for sure. That climb, that's a pretty relentless climb too.
Oh yeah,
up there.
Elk Pass, big
Elk
time.
Pass. But it was a nice view. We did see a few folks up on top of Nipple Top. And then I really enjoy that section actually between Nipple Top and Dial. I think is really nice. But again, was a little frustrated because normally I would be able to run something like that, and I wasn't able to run a step of it. So
okay. So now when you say you couldn't run and you were therefore walking, you're probably I would have to imagine you're not just hiking. You're probably still walking pretty fast. I would assume, or am I incorrect?
I guess I was trying to, I guess to put it in perspective, I was still passing hikers
sure
at times. So I knew I wasn't like going super, super slow, but it's hard to say, right? Like
yeah, sure.
fast. And I wasn't really paying attention. At this point, I kind of knew I was very far behind my projections, and nobody talked about it, but I knew I was probably no longer in the running for, any kind of speed record at that point, because of the pain that I was in and how much I still had left to do. And because at this point I was, very far behind what I had wanted, where I had wanted to be, originally. So,
but you kept going, which is,
I did.
You persevered, which is incredible and something to take from that.
Yeah.
So you headed over to Dial.
Yep. And so we stopped on Dial just for a minute, and that was another kind of cool experience. There's a father and daughter up there that were doing working on their 46, or telling them what I was doing. And so she was pretty excited about it, the daughter. So that was nice. I did run into quite a few kids that, like one who's like, what mountain are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm doing all of them,
Sure.
And so they were thrilled by that. And that was exciting. So after Dial, we had another bushwhack on tap. So we suited all up, in my bushwhack clothing and headed just down a little bit from Dial back towards Nippletop and headed in for a bushwhack over to the Dix Trail, like kind of across the Boquete River, like the confluence of them. And that actually felt pretty good. I moved quite well through that. It wasn't too bad. And I had already done that once with Jay, so I kind of recognized things and knew where I had to go, and knew once we hit the streams at the bottom, we were pretty close to the Dix slide, on the Round Pond side. So that didn't take too long. So we got out to the slide and then headed up. We stopped at the bottom of the slide and changed socks again and took a little break. And we were supposed to be meeting some other crew members right there kind of for a resupply. But there was no sign of them. So we decided to keep going. And so that was a little tough. Communication was a little tough at times. Because Jay and I both had Garmin inReaches, we could communicate with those two, but sometimes it took 25 to 30 minutes for a message to go through. So that makes it tough, but at least we had them, so we decided to keep going up that climb, which is actually one of my favorite climbs in the Adirondacks, is going up from that Round Pond side up Dix to up that side there. So we started up, and by the time we got to the summit, Jay had gotten service and they were 20 minutes or so behind us, but everybody was a little on edge, not enough sleep. And I decided I would keep going and just kind of take breaks. And, they would all joke actually that, when they would stop to do something and I would keep going, it would take them forever to catch back up to me. So I guess I was moving okay. But, that was a little bit of a worry that if I kept going, they wouldn't catch me for an hour and a half or something like that. But they did catch me. So I kept moving. They caught me near Huff, however you say it. I've heard it both ways. And so then I was moving pretty slow in there, but we stopped and we all ate sandwiches from Old Mountain Coffee in there, which was nice. And and then decided to keep on trucking basically. So we made it out to Macomb around sunset time. Yeah, it was probably sunset. So that was kind of beautiful, actually. A lot of really like that one section when you come out that side of South Dix and you're going up Macomb is like very rocky and kind of looks almost like either you're in New Hampshire in the Whites or maybe out west somewhere. It's a very different kind of different summit in there. So that was sunset right in there, and that was beautiful. And we made it up Macomb and then headed back for Grace, and then we took the Grace the herd path out to Route 73 from there, which that's probably where I had my lowest low.
Okay.
On that herd path. Not sure if you've ever taken it. It is a beautiful trail. Again, something that normally I'd be able to run because it's kind of just like undulating and soft, but there's a lot of river crossing in there. So at this point, my extensor is like barely working. And so trying to cross cobbly riverbed was a very big challenge, and very painful. Mm-hmm. So that took some time. And then once we got out, closer to the road, it's just it was a little flat, which felt fine. So at least there wasn't downhill. But I was just really exhausted at that point. There were some tears for sure in there. That comes
with the territory, I would have to assume.
Yeah, I tried to hold them off for as long as I could, but it just, a little bit of a pity party and then keep on going.
Cuts the tension a little bit that you're feeling. It's like, yeah, this kind of sucks right now. I'm pissed, but okay, yeah. That's done with. Now let's keep moving.
It's a fine line between, the crying and laughing, at that point.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So we made it out to Route 73 where actually my roommate Matt was there waiting. So he kind of helped, inspect my feet and my extensors. And some other friends, Jamie MacGyver was out there and her husband Justin, and I ate some real food. I think I had some chicken and some soup, and then we ended up sleeping just actually at the Round Pond trailhead in the back of the truck for more time than I normally would have to. I think that was close to 4 hours. But again, at this point, I knew I was out of the running and might as well just sleep for a few hours then and start up Giant and Rocky in the daylight. So,
all right. So that's day 4. Let's recap real quick. So you woke up feeling worse than you did when you went to bed only a few hours beforehand. And to make matters worse, it was cold and in the 40s. It's August in the Adirondacks, people. It should not be this cold this quickly. But anyway, so then you walk down the lake road, hit Colvin, Blake, then over to Nippletop, and then over to Dial. You said around Blake is when your quad was kind of feeling terrible at that point, coming back from Blake. Of course, Blake would do that to you at this point. Blake holds no prisoners. It does not care about our bodies or our feelings. That's for sure. And then after you got to Dial, you had the infamous bushwhack from Dial to Dix, which you said you moved very well through. So that's good. Mm-hmm. Then once you got to the Dix range, you had Dix, Huff over to South Dix, and you were cruising while your crew was trying to keep up with you and get you some food. And then you went over to Macomb, which is where you had a nice sunset. And then it was back to South Dix over to Grace, and then the herd path to Route 73, which is where you experienced the lowest point of your entire hike. Yeah. And that's great. It's over with now. So now it's only up from here. So you're at Route 73. You met some people. You ate some real food. You slept in the back of your truck. But you're feeling at this point, because you mentioned you kind of know you're not going to set the record you're looking for. So how are you feeling? You obviously kept going, so amazing. But how did that really make you feel at that point, going to sleep that night?
It was hard. It's always hard, I guess, to switch goals. And it was something that, like, I had obviously thought, like I mentioned, thought about for years. So, kind of accepting it, like, in the moment isn't so bad, but, it was not easy. And I think that was part of that lowest low on that herd path too, that it was like, the constant pain signals that are coming, but also, knowing that, it's
slipping away a little bit.
Goal has slipped away. And I kind of had realized that earlier in the day, because Aaron, originally we would pass people and he would say, yeah, she's going for the speed record. And actually it was wonderful. A lot of folks out there knew who I was, but without even saying anything, they'd be like, are you Sarah? And I'm like, yeah,
that's awesome.
It was great. It was really nice. Gave me a good boost. But by this day on the Dix range, Aaron had just started saying, yeah, she's going for the 46 in a single push rather than she's going for it in a speed attempt. So I'm like, yeah, we're way behind.
Got it.
Because nobody talked about it. Nobody ever said, like, we're gonna, can we do this, or should we reconsider? Like, there was no talk of quitting ever.
Great.
I think I mentioned it actually right before going up Giant, only because I was concerned about how bad, like, the tendinopathy I was developing was in my extensors. So I could tell, by the time we were on Dial, I knew that we were there. Okay. It was not an option really for the speed attempt anymore. But
so throughout the trip, you didn't really know Alyssa's situation, or you didn't really know where she was, or other than just kind of knowing sort of situation?
Occasionally we would mention it. They would say, like, that day they knew I was going to run into her. So they sent me a message on the InReach that just said, yeah, you'll run into her today. She's on the Great Range, but it wasn't a huge focus. We didn't really, and it wasn't why I was doing it anyway.
You were running your own race for yourself.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. But obviously, once it was another layer that was added at a later date. So it still made it fun, but
but wasn't the focus. Sure. So day 5. So this is your final day here. You woke up in the back of your truck, and you're going to start with Giant on Route 73.
Yep. Yeah. So Jan met us right at, like, the Chapel Pond parking lot there. By not Chapel Pond, but by the Ridge Trail parking lot for Giant, and he brought me some oatmeal. So I had some oatmeal and probably some soda and more Tailwind, and then we decided we'd head up. And it was a slow hike, but we did all right. We made some good time. It was a beautiful morning, really, really nice. And I felt pretty good besides the pain I was having in my extensors, or my extensor in my quad. Jan was like, yeah, you sound like you haven't done anything. Like, you're very clear headed. You sound like normal Sarah. I was like, yeah, I feel good. It's just, I mean, I guess that's what, not running, but walking will do,
Sure. You feel good. You just want to chop your leg off. And if that leg wasn't there, you'd feel